Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a most marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. So now, here is the $64 million question at this point. Why does this president appeal to so many black Americans? This scandalized, impeached president that people call everything but a child of God. He's a racist. He's a fascist. He's a sexist. He's a misogynist. And yet, he appeals to so many black Americans who say they don't like any of these qualities in a politician. Why does this man appeal to so many black Americans? And it's not just a few. I remember in 2016 when I was at the poll in line to vote, and the line was wrapped all around the building, all outside. And there was another black woman, one of my neighbors came to me with a very concerned look on her face. And she pointed to the back of her hand and she said, "Why are so many of us talking about they're going to vote for Trump?" At the time, I didn't think it was that serious. She said, yes, in here, in a southern state, a red state, many black people voted for Donald Trump. I know the Democrats don't like to admit this, but they really did. But why? Now we have young rappers coming out saying they like Donald Trump. Kanye West. And you know, Kanye is Kanye. He liked him. And this president has gathered up quite a following of black Americans. ADOS, FBA, whatever you want to call us, are supporting him. And now he's been impeached, and it seems like they got indictment after indictment. And it still seems like his popularity is growing. Why? Donald Trump is bold, audacious, and unapologetic. Those qualities appeal to a lot of people because people like that believe they're right, and they're able to make other people believe that they're right, even as they see that that person is doing something that might be illegal or unconventional or just downright wrong. But they do it with so much arrogance and confidence that people believe in them, and a lot of people like those qualities in another person. So Donald Trump has always been that way. I remember living in New York City in the 70s, and people couldn't stand him then. White people could not stand him because he was taking property away from people. He was making bold claims about, even then, about what a great businessman he was. People said he really wasn't, but people believed it because he was doing a lot of stuff. He was doing the most. He was building Trump Tower hotels all over the world. He lowballed the sellers of Mar-a-Lago in Florida and got a hold to that property, and everybody was impressed with that. So he really was moving and shaking like a billionaire businessman. And it didn't seem to bother people that Donald Trump was really also going after the little people. There was this woman in New York City. He was trying to take some property from her, and she was taking him to court. And I think he eventually won. And then he went to Scotland and was taking over some property that they didn't want him to have. And I think he eventually prevailed over those people. And he was doing tricky stuff like that, and people did not hold it against him. Donald Trump does have something of a Machiavellian personality. And that is a person who is cunning, who is deceitful, who believes that the end justifies the means. Whatever you do is justified by whether or not you achieve it, your goal or not. So he has those kind of characteristics. But there's something people find charming about him in spite of all of that. And that's the mistake about Donald Trump relative to black people. Even though people suspect he's a racist, it's not unusual to see him skinning and grinning with Don King, the boxing promoter, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Mike Tyson, and as I mentioned, Kanye West, and others, preachers, entertainers, politicians. You might see any of them skinning and grinning with Donald Trump. So with all these black men in his face, it's hard to say, well, that's what makes him a Machiavellian type personality. The end justifies the means. The end justifies the means. So if he has to go through them to get to where he wants to go, he has no problem doing that. And that's also not all about Donald Trump. There's something else about him. When Jennifer Hudson's family suffered that horrible tragedy with her mother, brother, and nephew losing their lives to a deranged person, Donald Trump offered Trump Towers in Chicago for her family to stay and heal as long as they needed to. So Jennifer Hudson and her family stayed in Trump Towers at his expense until she was ready to come back to the world. See, it's one thing to talk, but when you can walk the walk, that's something different. And to me, that's walking the walk. And no, I'm not a Trump supporter, but that was a very decent thing for him to do. And there were some things that he did for black people while he was president that might shed some light on why he appeals to some black people. One thing he boasted was that the number of new owned black women's businesses reached a record high in 2018 and 2019 while he was president. No group sold more business startups under President Trump than black women. Also, Trump's Environmental Protection Agency awarded $100 million to fix the broken water infrastructure system in Flint, Michigan. Next, the Trump administration struck a $1 billion deal to provide free HIV prevention drugs to 200,000 uninsured Americans every year for the next decade. Now, this is supposed to help black people because they're claiming that 42% of the HIV diagnoses in 2018 were to black people. But that's still not the majority. But they say they're doing it free and everybody will benefit from it, including black people. But they're putting it in the how Trump helped black people category. Now, this was a big one that everybody was talking about, couldn't quite explain it, but it's apparently true. The poverty rate for black Americans dropped to an all-time low in 2018 when Trump was president. And that is true. And this last one is even bigger than that. President Trump allocated more funding to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, than any other president. HBCU presidents were proud of that, and they were singing the praises of President Donald Trump. And surrounding him on this screen are HBCU presidents. When I was trying to cross-reference this $360 million and verify that Donald Trump had really given this much, there is conflicting information. One group says it was $255 million and that some of that went for other minorities like the indigenous and the Hispanics. Another group says it was $85 million that he set aside strictly for HBCUs. So I don't know what the truth is. It depends on who's telling it. But I do know that he invited these HBCU presidents and they got some money. Now, I don't know how much it was, but they got some, and it was passed into law that they had to get so much money per year. Now, that was done under Donald Trump, when in the past they got leftovers if somebody wanted to give it to them. So he did pass it into law. So the enigma that is Donald Trump and the appeal that he has to black people, especially young blacks. I believe some of these young people are just trying to be different and trying to be defiant, and maybe it just makes them look cool to support a renegade like Donald Trump. And then some people really are just fed up with the Democratic Party. So Donald Trump represents something like a defiant person, like he breaks the law, he might go to jail. Donald Trump appeals to a number of black people. And when we hear about the Democrats being concerned about the black vote, I think it's cause for pause that many black people are looking for something else. I don't think we can deny that. So we'll really have to wait to see how it all shakes out, whether or not he's in a position to accept the Republican nomination should he get it. So it's going to be interesting to watch, and I'm going to continue to try to find out what it is about Donald Trump that so many black Americans find appealing. And y'all let me know what you think about this. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.